Hey, anyone using Signal these days? You know, I mean,
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
what the hell?
God. Yeah, and that's probably its own show to talk about Signal, but like you and I have been using Signal since it started, and I'm just afraid that
Since Moxie Marlin Spike was talking about this cool thing he was working on.
That's what I'm talking
cool.
about.
Well, if Moxie's making a thing, I'm using the thing. Welcome to Cybersecurity Growth, a show for aspiring and existing cybersecurity leaders. I'm Sean Valley.
And I am Garrett Gross.
Hey, look at that. We did it. We did it. The new intro. We did it. Oh, my goodness. How you doing, man? How you been?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. Fresh off a little bit of R&R, back in the saddle this week, so it's been a busy week for me.
That's good. Hopefully you're doing like the R&R for both of us, because I am not doing the R&R.
Yeah, you need a vacation.
The R&R. I'm managing our e-commerce shop. I think you called me a textile baron the last time we were on with all the different merch that have been designed and released.
Yes.
We have more merch to talk about today. Since our last show, I released a new training course, a 2-hour training course for CISOs. We'll talk about that later on.
So excited for that.
Between our last show and this one, I finished all the recording, the production, the post-production, published it. Now I'm working on getting some friends to try it out to make sure, hey, where did I screw up in the thing? So anyways,
right.
And now I'm starting to work on the next one, as well as I've got some projects that are actually hands-on, CISO cyber type projects that are in the works as well. So it's
I love that.
I'm keeping busy, and I hope you are taking the R&R for all of us, because one of these days, the candle that is burning at both ends will burn out.
That's right.
Shouldn't do that.
In a flame of glory.
Yes. Shouldn't do that.
No.
Oh my goodness. All right. On today's agenda, we have two things we're going to cover. We have This Week in Cyber. We introduced the name This Week in Cyber the last time we got together, and I think we're going to keep using it. That is our news update. So this week we will have This Week in Cyber, and this week we will have a hot topic. And the hot topic is our resume workshop. This will be our second resume workshop. We've been talking about this for ages. We've been talking about it for a long time. We did one resume workshop a while back, and we still have other resumes to get at, where we look at cyber professionals and technology professional resumes, and we do a first read, and we do everything we can not to read them ahead of time. And us as hiring managers, we look at these resumes and we give some feedback on them live on air. And
that's right.
That's what we're talking about today. So This Week in Cyber.
You get the real gut reaction.
Real gut reaction. So when we get to that, we'll talk more about it. We'll give you the details when we get to it. Today's show is sponsored by Cybersecurity Growth, and we'll get into that in a little bit as well. But as we like to do when we start every show, Garrett, I'm sitting over here on the red carpet as you are entering the big show, and I want to know, hey Garrett, who are you wearing today, Garrett?
So I actually had to fish this one out of the archives, because this is a very special shirt to me. It's like one of those shirts that you don't want to wear because you want it to be around forever. Maybe I'm the only one that's weird like that. But today I am wearing a shirt from the Calyx organization.
I don't know what this is. You're introducing me to a thing that I don't know.
I love this. So I actually went on their website to make sure that I was not speaking untruths about them. But the Calyx Institute is a nonprofit that basically serves to develop and make available internet privacy for folks around the world. So, not everyone has the ability to sign up for a VPN. It may not be available in their area. They may not have the funds to do so. So Calyx creates it's kind of like a VPN service, but it's also a wireless internet service. They've got wireless hotspot devices. They've got now a Calyx OS, which is it's a Pixel phone loaded with a proprietary operating system. But it's just a way to, this is especially important in areas where information is suppressed and journalism is not as appreciated. I mean, hey, not getting political on the show, but maybe we're headed that direction here.
Dude, I do not know how we get out of politics today. It's like I tried to keep it out of this, but hey, anyone using Signal these days? It's just what the hell?
God. Yeah, and that's probably its own show to talk about Signal, but like you and I have been using Signal since it started, and I'm just afraid
since Moxie Marlin Spike was talking about this cool thing he was working on.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, if Moxie's making a thing, I'm using the thing.
Right. And I am worried that it's going to get a bad reputation because of the tomfoolery that's going on in our government.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's who I'm wearing.
You know what I love? Like I don't know how often you've been doing this, but I remember this from the last show when I said who you're wearing. You had that same hoodie on, right? As your reveal. Like
I always do.
You get this reveal hoodie, and I don't know if you've always had
Yes.
it, but you had it on the last
I mean,
show.
the thing that you probably know that not a lot of people know, like this hoodie, and actually this is the second iteration. I've been wearing this EFF style hoodie for I don't know, like a decade now. So this is now my new reveal
I love it. I love the reveal.
vehicle. Well, as is tradition, I'm going to turn around the camera on you and I'm going to say, "Oh, hey, Sean Valley, founder of Cybersecurity Growth. Nice to see you here at the award show. Who are you wearing today, Sean?"
Thank you very much, Garrett. So today I'm wearing a brand new t-shirt. It's the first time it's ever been on. It is by the brand Shockaware, if you're wondering.
No way.
Branding. I'm wearing Shockaware clothing today. They are known for their world famous heavyweight t-shirts. But this t-shirt, as you can see from the top, it's tie-dye, right? I'm wearing a kind of a bluish tie-dye, but some people may recognize what it says on the shirt, which is...
Oh, yes. Yes.
So the last time we got together, I had a new shirt on that said the same logo here, "Career is soon over," which happens to be words you can use for the CISO acronym.
That's right.
CISO, career is soon over. So I'm wearing this tie-dye t-shirt. It's a heavyweight t-shirt. So if you like heavyweight t-shirts, this is for you. Like it's big and bulky and very heavyweight from a t-shirt perspective, and has a yellow embroidered right down the center. Career is soon over.
That's the type of shirt that could dual purpose as like the sail on a ship, right?
Yeah, I think it could with the amount of weight that's on this. Yeah, it definitely could. And on the sleeve here.
Oh yes. Oh, that looks greght.
So
That's our
for the audio listeners, on the sleeve it actually has the Cybersecurity Growth logo on it as well. So it's the first time this shirt has been worn. And the shirt comes in. We have it in the store in multiple different tie-dye colors as well. So if you want to be an idiot like me, wear a CISO shirt that says "Career is soon over," voila!
I love that.
We will continue to be adding stuff. So this is my first time. I figured I'd give it a wear today.
And keep in mind, folks, we're not making a ton of money off these shirts. We're trying to make them as affordable as possible. But buying the shirts does support the show. So if you do want to support the Cybersecurity Growth Show, that's a great way to do it. And you get a great looking tie-dye t-shirt that could be dual purposed as the sail on a ship.
It could be the sail on a ship. It also could be used to probably wash your car, at home. Like you could dip it into the sudsy soap and wash on the car, and then put it on afterwards too to cool off. You
want to make a nice heavyweight quilt for the winter? You could probably buy 7 of them and stitch them together.
And that would be great. Again, that would help us, fund the next couple episodes. That would be fantastic.
That's right.
So thank you.
That's right.
All right, we'll be right back.
Is your business prepared for today's cyber challenges? At Cybersecurity Growth, we don't just offer consulting. We provide trusted, real-world expertise to protect what matters most to your organization. From cybersecurity assessments to strategic roadmaps, Cybersecurity Growth brings the experience you need to turn security challenges into lasting strengths. We've helped companies navigate critical incidents and build strategies to reduce future risk. For example, when a mid-sized tech company that we partner with faced a data breach, we worked with their team to contain the threat, restore operations, and implement measures to strengthen their defenses for the future. Because of our level of comprehensive care and rapid response, we're trusted by clients across tech, finance, and life sciences to provide the guidance they need to secure their business and safeguard their customers. Ready to protect your business? Visit cybersecuritygrowth.com/contact for a free consultation.
All right, here we go. Okay, welcome to This Week in Cyber, our news segment of our show. We've got a few topics to cover today, so let's get right into it. First up here, this one I found it from Securi.net. For some reason, I've been finding a lot of my security news from Securi lately. I think I signed up on a mailing list by using one of their pieces of software, and now I see things that are interesting. Anyways, the topic here from this article, it's talking about the LummaStealer Trojan. I don't know if that rings a whole lot, but I'm going to tell us a little bit about it if you're not familiar with it, because it aligns with fake Cloudflare verification results. So LummaStealer, it's a Trojan malware. It's creating deceptive Windows modal pop-ups. And if you're not familiar with the word modal, I'm a nerd from way back in the day. Those are the pop-ups that show up on your screen that you can't click on anything until you click that box, right? So like it's very common in the old Windows OSs where no other window can move until you get that box out of your way. So it's creating these deceptive modal pop-ups, telling users to run Windows Defender to fix a CAPTCHA-like problem. And it's usually happening when they're maybe at what could be a Cloudflare site or what looks like one. They are occurring on popped WordPress sites. So WordPress sites that have been breached and some software has been put in behind the scenes. A malicious package has been installed into these popped WordPress sites. It lays in wait for an unsuspecting user to download and execute this little malicious package. And the way it works is the user has to execute the package manually. So it's not like something where you just go to a site and you're automatically hosed. It is the fact that you, the user, have to instigate it. So the trick is the hack instructs the user to type the Windows plus R key. All right, so let's think about that. Windows plus R. This is all it says, hey user, press Windows plus R and then press Control plus V and then hit enter. This is what the modal pop-up tells the user to do. And you know what is happening. It's running and pasting and then executing whatever was pasted. So what the user doesn't realize is the first window copied the directory of the malicious PHP file name into the from the infected WordPress directory into the user's clipboard, right? Second step, tricks the user to run the run command, to open the run command, paste and launch the malicious PHP locally. The executed files then gives the attacker full remote access to the user's machine, allowing them to the ability to steal sessions, any login info, or whatever's running on the user's Windows machine.
I mean, that is pretty brilliant because I can tell you, even as a seasoned professional, getting one of those pop-ups, I'll do anything to make it go away. Just like
freaking thing off
I need to do what I'm doing.
Because you remember when Windows, which one? It was the one before Windows 7 that everybody hated because it had too many pop-ups that came when they finally realized No, it was after that one. Dang it. It's the one that didn't last very long. Windows Vista was where they introduced the user access control. It was basically security hell, where it was like every 12 seconds you'd get a security pop-up because they were trying to recover from the Windows NT debacle of being an insecure OS, and they went too far.
They were over-indexing,
so they were all these modal pop-up boxes that, to your point, Garrett, was like, hey, just get away from my screen. And of course, then people were accepting bad packages all the time because they just didn't want that to work. So Windows 7 kind of found a little bit of a balance there.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, I mean, so what are you doing to defend against this? I mean, I'm guessing this is all around awareness training. Yeah,
if you think about it from, I think from our perspective, educate people, right? Security professionals, how do you help educate your people about this? Teach them about Windows key plus R, right? Teach people, because I'd say the average person doesn't realize that Windows key plus R opens the run command, right? The average person just thinks like, oh, okay, whatever, Windows plus R, I don't know, I'll do the thing.
And I wouldn't think that most folks have any business having to open the run dialog ever.
No, if the run command is opened by like an unknown user or source, it's going to likely lead to bad things, right?
Yes.
So if you think, I think about it, the only people who probably should ever use the run command is like a local developer, right? Developer who's doing some code on their machine. They need to run and operate something, a very technical user, or maybe like your IT admin when they are in person, like standing next to you, and they can confirm they are really your IT admin and not some bad guy trying to take over things.
So I always used to use the run command to get to like the Microsoft Services Console stuff, the MSC like services or whatever. But just know that the current operating systems, you can run those directly from the start menu. Like you can open the start menu, start typing services dot whatever, and it'll bring it up. So I don't think there's really a need for anyone to be opening.
No, and actually, if I think about it, for Windows administrators, Windows domain administrators, disable the run command.
Sure.
From your everyday user. Like you're probably going to need it for your software developers who are using Windows, because they're
Right.
going to likely use it. Your technical folks are going to leverage it, but your business users, scrap it.
Right.
Just hide it. Maybe make it a something that requires an administrator's account even to
An
make
exception.
it
Yeah.
available. That's
I
an
mean,
idea.
to me, that is a perfect candidate for an exception-based thing, unless you've got power users that's how they operate Windows. Because again, I know a lot of old heads that they use the run dialog to execute all kinds of stuff. But yeah, there's no reason to do that normally.
Yeah, if I think about other things, we talk about all the time, put two-factor authentication on everything, just everything. Because
Everything.
again, third-party remote access tools, they generally are just, by default, username, password. Just put 2FA on everything you can, and disable anything that doesn't have 2FA on it. I don't know if that would solve this attack, but it's just something, I will always continue to push for that.
Yeah. And one thing that actually, I went to a security conference yesterday and went to an identity type talk. And one of the things I just want to mention, I won't spend much time on this. Multi-factor authentication does not mean like your password and then a PIN and then another, challenge phrase. Like that's still the same factor. The way that this guy broke it down, and it's something I've heard years and years and years ago, multi-factor authentication should be something you know, something you have, and something you are. Those are the three levels of your multi-factor authentication. So again, I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but that's one of the things that I've now reburned into my brain.
That's good. Okay, other things, which I would think most corporations would have, but we should just continue to say it, run like local web firewall and EDR, right? So have EDR running on your machine, so if it sees a known malicious package, it's going to flag it and possibly even contain it, right, in real time. And like I'm talking like Microsoft Defender, CrowdStrike, SentinelOne,
I was just about to say, even if you don't have a paid for EDR, Microsoft Defender of current gen is actually not bad. Like it's not amazing. It's not like CrowdStrike or SentinelOne or something, but it's not bad. And to your point, it'll probably identify those known malicious packages.
Yeah, and I'll even go one step further. I know many CISOs and IT security and security ops teams who I respect and speak highly of, who are using Microsoft Defender in their enterprise environments. So folks have decided that actually they've found that it's actually doing quite good in Windows and Mac environments. So back to Garrett, to your comment, like if you've got a Windows environment, you've got some form of Defender endpoint that's freely available for you.
Well, the paid for Defender is actually super legit. Like it's really, I mean, I'm not sure I want to say that about any Microsoft product, but it's really good. Like
we're not allowed to say good things about Microsoft products on the show.
No, it's too much scarring from the past.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Okay, let's move on to the next article that we found here. So this one I found from CSO Online. Oddly enough, the CISO in the room here lives on CSO Online pretty often.
Imagine that.
Yeah, what a surprise. The article says, that breach cost how much? And it says how CISOs can talk effectively about the cyber incident toll. And I thought this was super interesting.
What breach could they be talking about?
Well, this article starts with a couple well-known breaches, and then it starts talking about conversations at like the executive level, the board level. So
I see. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So the first thing they talked about is in 2017, Equifax, the credit rating agency, they suffered a massive data breach. And over time, they did the math. And they said it cost the company over $1.4 billion in legal settlements, regulatory fines, and cybersecurity expenses. They then went on.
So much money.
They went on to talk about how Maersk, shipping giant Maersk, in 2017, they were the company that fell victim to NotPetya, that giant ransomware attack that I think in my mind kind of like kicked off the world of ransomware that we still live in. That cost across the globe $10 billion in damages. Because it started with them and then it went further down. Like for them, it cost them over $300 million for system restoration, dealing with business interruption, lost revenue, but it continued to make its way down to their suppliers. So that was massive.
That's an unreal amount of money. I cannot believe that.
IBM every year does a cost of a data breach report, and they even discovered, like in their report that came out early last year, February 2024, They said the average cost of a data breach reached an all-time high of $4.88 million, which you and I have talked about this before because that was very much in line with the Verizon DBER this year that we covered. It was like 4.5 to 5 million, so 4.88 million. IBM and Verizon are saying the same thing, and they said that amount is a 10% jump over the 2023 year. So just what I loved about this report is these data points, because if I'm thinking about our cybersecurity leaders who are trying to influence themselves in their leadership to fund their program, one of the best ways to do that is to find real world examples and show the dollars, like show me the money. Because
unfortunately, as you and I well know, that is one of the biggest data points that you can have of like, this is going to cost you X amount of dollars, because as we always see time and time again, someone at the financial level, usually in the C-suite, will balk at some security investment, and then they get breached, and the cost of that breach is usually 5x, 10x the amount that they would have invested in prevention.
Yeah. So, CISOs, security leaders, this is the kind of stuff that you could share, like your steering committee meetings and your executive leadership meetings. Show them these data points, and if they align with your actual business and industry, even the better. Show them these real-world data points, these real-world dollar amounts, and just recognize these things. Another piece that I thought was really interesting, the average, it wasn't the average, it was more kind of like the long term. It can take a company as long as 3 weeks from the beginning of a successful ransomware attack to getting the company fully operational again. So again, another number that's worth sharing to your executive team who's looking at you saying, why do you want so much money, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to protect the company? And say, well, how long can we be down before we start, hemorrhaging money? Can we survive 3 weeks offline? And some companies can, right? Research company, maybe they can, but like a commerce company, no. Many of them are like, no, if we're down for minutes or seconds, that's going to cost us too much for us to be concerned with. So again, helping my executives understand the real world cost of this stuff.
Well, what's crazy is that 10% jump over previous years, as you and I have discussed, it's always been that way. Every year, it's like, oh, this is an enormous leap, and it's a 10, 15% jump. It just further proof that this activity is not stopping.
Yeah. Okay, what can you do? Security leaders, what can you do? Tabletop exercises. Hold tabletop exercises regularly. If you are, great. If not, get on it. Get everyone prepared in the event of a successful ransomware attack. We're talking about ransomware here. Successful ransomware attack. So you can quickly jump into action for like the quickest recovery and return to business, right? To me, that is one of the first things. Start doing these things regularly. Kind of get this built into everyone's brain. And remember, tabletop exercises, you want the security team there, but you want the rest of the business there too. You want IT, you want ops, you want legal, you want business leadership representation in your tabletop exercises.
Absolutely.
Communications, marketing, you want those people in there too. Everybody plays a role. Every part of the company, most parts of the company play a role in incident response. And so you want them as part of your tabletop exercises so everyone's burning it into their brain.
That's a really good point, because a lot of folks that I talk to, I'm very proud of them when I hear that they're doing tabletops, but then I ask them, just like you said, well, who are the members? Who are you inviting to this? And it's usually just security, maybe IT. But to your point, rehearsing that and getting everyone in line of like, this is what you're going to do if this happens. Because having it written down on paper is good for like, here's your go book for the incident or whatever. But having them already kind of understand what the sequence of events is going to be, that's been advantageous in recovering from a breach when, as you pointed earlier, minutes, hours can count.
Yeah. Another thing, it aligns with the tabletop exercises. Develop a good incident response plan and practice the incident response plan frequently. Yes. Your first tabletop exercise, hopefully you are actually running your own IR plan in your tabletop exercises, and you're finding where it works well and where it's got some gaps and weaknesses and improve it, right? So develop a good IR plan yesterday and practice it frequently. Yeah. Put it on paper, literal paper, physical dead trees, print it on paper. And at least, it'll at least have the phone numbers for when Slack, Teams, email is compromised, right? So, if those things are no longer usable, you can call people, but put the plan on paper.
Because imagine you've got your IR plan on your corporate wiki and then you can't get to your corporate wiki.
Yeah, Confluence, a ransomware took down our Confluence and our Jira server. Oh, crap. Well, that's where we put the IR plan. Well, now what? So print it out.
And we could probably spend a whole show on IR, but one thing that I will mention, because it has happened to me, make sure your IR plan is updated annually with current phone numbers of your contacts. And I can't tell you how many times, and I've actually had this happen to me directly walking into a gig. I pull up the IR plan. And it's like, oh, you literally just copied this from Google.
Right. And copying it from Google is a good start, but now modify it for your business, right?
It's a great start.
Companies who actually use really cool plans, like Atlassian actually has an awesome online incident response plan where you're like, oh, let me steal that and then I'll modify it for how we run our business, but modify it for your business. PagerDuty is an awesome one too. Yeah, they're both very good. So that's something. Yeah, so put it on paper. Practice every step of the plan and practice it often. So Garrett, to your point of updating it regularly, if you practice it regularly, you'll realize hey, this phone number of this person, hey, this person left the company. We need to swap that name and phone number with a new person who's there. Run your incident response plan from the paper. Don't run it from the wiki or wherever you've stored it, whether it's Google Docs, whether it's a Word document in some file share or lives in Confluence. Run it from paper. And back to the paper piece, stash printed copies of the IR plan everywhere. So if you are a big work from home company, everybody gets a binder that they keep on their desk at home. Your key leaders of the IR team has a paper copy on their desks. And if you're in office, great. Print out copies and put them all over the desks like back in the old days where there was stuff that was on desk. Keep your IR plan handy on paper, put it everywhere. And that's actually probably a part of kind of the annual update, Garrett, which is not only when you update it, print a fresh cut, kill some more trees and put it everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
More thoughts that kind of came out of this article, but things that I was thinking of, before you buy cybersecurity insurance, and by the way, you should buy some cybersecurity insurance. I'm not saying not to, but make sure you're practicing your IR plan because practicing your IR plan will help you, and when you're buying cybersecurity insurance, determine how much you really need. Your cyber insurer is going to tell you how much they think you need, and then they're going to charge you based on how well your security program is doing. Well, if you're practicing your IR plan, they may actually lower the premiums. If you're practicing your IR plan, you might know where your gaps really are, and you can help your finance executives to say, hey, here's how much we really should buy, where we should have real coverage and where we're okay. Keep that in mind.
That is a great point. Yep.
If you're a CISO who presents to the board of directors, talk to the board about breaches. When you get that opportunity to go in front of the board or the audit board. So oftentimes a subset of the board of directors is the audit committee. If you get the opportunity to speak in front of them, talk about breaches, talk about them. Let your executives and your board know about breaches that align with your industry. So any industry related breach news, talk about it. Never let a good crisis go to waste.
It's true though. You get them, very familiar with the language associated with the breach, what that means to you. Because here's the deal, guys: when you actually suffer an incident, the adrenaline is pumping. People are going to be freaked out, especially the folks that are outside of the technical realm. So you're going to be hitting them with a lot of new nomenclature. So to really get them, read in on what that all means, I think that's a great suggestion, Sean. Get them used to what that sounds like. And, little FUD doesn't hurt. Kind of cajole them to loosen the purse strings if you're trying to get budget for your future security initiatives.
And I have found out, and I'm glad you brought up the FUD thing, because that's one way people can look at this. I have found that my executives look to me and say, I've actually had some specifically say, hey, Sean, what incidents are happening in our industry? So they actually have asked me to make a point that at my bi-monthly or quarterly reviews with the executive team, that I'm actually searching for industry-related breaches to bring to the leadership team. They want me to find the FUD and share it with them. They want to know where the problems are, and then they want me to say, okay, how would this affect us if it happened to us? So that's another thing to think about. When you're comparing breaches that happen elsewhere, and you're doing this to your leadership and your executive team, walk through how that might play out for you if it happened to your company. And then walk through how well you are or are not yet protected to handle that if it happened. And it's, being honest is great, because if you're saying we have these measures in place, here's how it may not have impacted us because we have these measures in place. But you can also, on the flip side, say, I'm actually worried that this could impact us because we don't have these measures in place, and here are the things I think we need to start focusing on. And that plants the seed for, potential growth to mature your program.
That can also fuel your tabletop exercises. You can take a breach that's happened in real life or, playing out in the news, and you can run through, hey, let's imagine if this happened to us. Yeah, it's a great point.
That's a good one, Garrett, right? Take a real world breach and then, write it up on a piece of paper and then run the team through the breach at your company. Yeah, that's
because and again, we could do a whole show on tabletops, but they're meant to simulate real incidents, things that could actually happen to you. So the more realistic you make them, the more impact they're going to have, and the more prepared, and I would even say galvanized, you'll be for when it actually happens. One thing I want to mention, though, for folks that are scratching their head going, FUD, what is FUD? FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's usually coined as a negative term in like cybersecurity sales presentations, but the healthy amount of fear, uncertainty, and doubt to just, kind of bring you back to reality, I think it's important.
Yeah, I think about it like the ambulance chasers of cybersecurure product companies. Like, oh, something bad happened. Let me call you up right now and show you how if you had my thing, you wouldn't have had that problem.
Yeah.
You know what? As I was reading this article and thinking about it, there are some downsides of this challenge that we're talking about. And the downside is the lifespan of a CISO at a company. The average lifespan of a CISO at a company, and my resume speaks to this, is 18 to 24 months. Like that is the average lifespan of a CISO at a company. Sucks, but it's reality. So here's the problem. Like that's not a good tenure for an executive to have practiced company-wide knowledge. And if you think about it, you're like, wait, that's a year and a half to 2 years. You probably just got into the rhythm of like how the company operates, and now you're out for one reason or another. So here's the problem, which is CISOs are leaving in these like 2 year increments. And so now new leader comes in and has to kind of start over, building this up. So there's that challenge where the CISOs that are 4, 5, 10 year plus at a company are few and far between.
Correct.
So to me, there's a risk of this. And I'm not saying there's a solution to this. It's just a recognized downside.
So what are you recommending to maybe empower the SecOps leadership to run with a lot of this evangelism in your stead, or?
I think from a CISO's perspective, you want your security ops leadership, right? So, if you've got a security ops team with a team leader, whether, by title, their team leader, their manager, senior manager, their director, maybe VP if you're a huge company, you want to empower them to own this, definitely.
Yep.
And you want to kind of hold them accountable to doing all the things we talked about. And that's kind of part of their, quarterly, annual review. I'd like to be part of their quarterly review because we'd like to do these things way more often than annual.
Yep, agreed.
Some takeaways here. Build rapport with your executive teams. Build rapport with your board of directors on like the topic of data breaches. Talk truthfully about the costs in real world examples and like compare them to your org. Like to me, those are some big takeaways of this.
And that's, to me, a balancing act. You don't want to be the sky is falling, but you also don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. We're not important enough to be targeted. Mm-hmm. You got to find that balance.
I have seen, that person who's like, yeah, we're not that important. We don't really have, our data isn't that rich. We're not carrying that much important data, so we don't need to really worry about it. You have employees. That data is important. Is as important as any other data. So yeah, good point.
I see that as walking out in a thunderstorm with a lightning rod. Like you're just asking for it.
Yeah. All right, Garrett, what's next? You got something on Oracle here.
So we got one more that we want to talk about, and this is just now starting to develop Oracle Cloud, which I don't know if everyone knows that, but Oracle has a pretty, substantial cloud offering. Oracle, of course, database manufacturer. So Oracle Cloud had a data breach, 6 million records stolen, 140,000 clients potentially impacted. So again, a lot of this stuff is still kind of coming up. We wondered whether or not we wanted to talk about this today, but I think it's important to at least bring it up. The cause of the data breach is thought to be a previously known vulnerability that has existed since, drumroll please, 2014. What?
Oh,
The threat
11 years. Remember, we're recording this in 2025. Just to know, we are not recording this in 2015.
And we're not used to living in decades long dwell time for threats, although we have certainly seen it before.
2014 was like just after HTTPS got put on Facebook.
I mean, pretty much. So what we think happened is the threat actor compromised an Oracle Cloud subdomain, stole encrypted passwords, and the way that this kind of came to light is they were seen on an underground forum that we all love and hate, asking for help in cracking them, as well as attempting to ransom victims and sell off other types of stolen data. So what we think is included in this, and what the attacker has, demonstrated, is that they have a number of file types and credentials for sale. Things like JKS files, which are
Java key stores, I think.
That's right. Yep. Encrypted SSO passwords, other key files, and then Enterprise Manager JPS keys, which I had to look this up. This is actually it's a same thing. It's a key store type thing, but I think it's like a credential set it's something protected systems keys. So anyway, very valuable, potentially dangerous things to get in the hands of threat actors. And it's funny because, you see stuff in these forums all the time. They're also like asking for help to crack, all the encrypted passwords that they have. And then, of course, offering their own reward for that.
The one thing, when you mentioned Oracle Cloud, the first thing that it reminded me of was here we go, political stuff. The Trump 45, I believe, was trying to push TikTok to be in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
And the push was to have Oracle be a part owner and TikTok to live in the Oracle Cloud.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
And I feel like that was a time when a lot of technical people said, wait, Oracle has a cloud?
Yeah, wait, huh? Which again, I knew about it, but when I saw this story, it kind of reminded me that Oracle has a pretty vast cloud network. So a little bit of the digging into this, and I got a lot of this from I forgot who this was. CPO Magazine. Got to give credit for where credit's due. They did a check of the hacked subdomains existence using the Wayback Machine, which, if you're not familiar with the Wayback Machine, it's a beautiful tool to use to see what things looked like in the past, and especially in this case.
And if you don't know how to get to the Wayback Machine, just type archive.org into your web browser after our show is over, and you will be at the Wayback Machine. And if you've never used it before, have fun finding things that were like GeoCities websites from 1997. They're probably there.
Well, and archive.org, I mean, I can't plug them enough. That's a great treasure trove of all sorts of things. Grateful Dead concerts, old technical manuals, who knows? There's all kinds of stuff.
Again, the first websites I ever built in 1997. They are out there.
They're probably out there.
And they're horrible.
Oh yeah, there's some gems out there. Like I remember when we used to look for like weird websites, and you can find them all on the Wayback Machine. Anyway, so the archive that they found using the Wayback Machine determined that the subdomain was hosting an Oracle Fusion middleware 11G, which, if you're not familiar with that, that stopped receiving security support and updates in January of 2022. Wow. It was found to have a critical vulnerability in its Oracle Access Manager component, which CVE 2021-35587, if you want to look that up. But the important part here is that it has out of 10, a 9.8 CVSS score, which, if you're not familiar with CVSS, that encompasses, the complexity of the vulnerability, the exploitability, the prevalence of how this is. So it doesn't get much worse than a 9.8.
I'm kind of a big fan of saying, like, if it's above an 8, stop just about everything and work on this right away. And the fact that this is 0.2 away from a 10, this means, like, if it exists, it's probably broken. It's already been broken.
It's very bad, and
Oh.
and the especially damning part is that this was a publicly disclosed vulnerability in December of 2022. The threat actors, though, which is funny is when you dig into this, they claim that they took advantage of another public CVE that didn't have a known exploit, but I kind of think that's a little bit of hacker flexing.
Yeah, I
But
was gonna say if there's some 0 day in here, good for them, good for you. I like that. That's exciting. But the fact that these things have been sitting around for 3 or many more years, crazy
yeah.
talk.
Well, and the hackers go on. They claim that they've already attempted to extort Oracle themselves, but Oracle turned them down. And again, this is all alleged. They claim to have offered Oracle all the information needed to fix the patch, as good non-ethical hackers do. And they wanted the fix and the ability to patch the vulnerability in return for 100,000 XMR, which I don't know what that is. But it's about $22.5 million, but they are rejected. $22.5 million is a blip
Hmm.
in the scheme of things when it comes to Oracle. So I'm kind of shocked that they did
But
not
it
just make
aligns
this
with
go away.
things you have said before, and that we've said before, which is don't pay the ransom. So it's
Right.
aligning with our recommendations. But to your point, like cheap as far as the balance sheet goes for Oracle, but they are aligning with the industry recommendation is don't pay the ransom.
I mean, I operate under the premise that everything bad is going to happen. Like if I pay this ransom, they're still going to release all my stuff. They're not going to give me the encryption keys. But I mean, again, if you're Oracle, one of the world's largest database companies, and you have a pretty small sum in the grand scheme of things to pay. I mean, I don't have $22 million laying around, but it just again,
I
it's
do, but because it's from my t-shirt business. And
because you're a
easily
textile
$22
baron these
million
days.
dollars as a
That's
textile
right.
baron.
The last thing I'll say on this is that you got a lot of other opinions in this CPO article, which is great. But this one guy, Ensar Sekar, CISO at SOC Radar, which to be fully disclosure, I don't know who that is, but he said that this incident could become 2025 SolarWinds moment, especially if we confirm that multiple enterprises were breached via their Oracle Cloud instances. I mean, imagine that. Imagine how many backends are using this Oracle Cloud database. Like,
Yeah, I've definitely
who
seen
knows?
folks in industry saying, again, Oracle hasn't been confirming a whole lot publicly, but I've seen people going in and rotating keys, rotating sessions,
Yeah.
terminating sessions, rotating passwords and whatnot, just to prepare for the likelihood that this is real and that their data has been exposed through, possibly through their sessions being hijacked or their
Yeah.
credentials being stolen.
Well, and it raises a bunch of questions. How soon did Oracle know about this? Did they triage the vulnerability? Did they, have any mitigations in play before all of this was discovered in the dark web? We'll never know because that's not going to come out. But to your point, my recommendation is if you know that you're leveraging any of this Oracle Cloud infrastructure, start imagining like there is a potential breach happening right now. Start rotating, start checking all your systems, double down on your vulnerability assessments to see if there are other second stage exploits that have permeated your environment, things of that nature. I would treat this with the highest of severity if you are using the Oracle Cloud.
Yeah, good to know. I mean, scary news. This is going to. We'll be hearing about this for quite some time now.
Yes, agreed.
Interesting, as someone's already saying, this could be a SolarWinds moment for Oracle.
Absolutely.
All right, Garrett, thank you for that. I think that covers our This Week in Cyber. So
Yep.
good topics this week.
Awesome.
We have a sponsor update from Cybersecurity Growth Training. Garrett, do you want to read this little update for us here?
Absolutely. This is one of the great joys of my job here at Cybersecurity Growth is reading this ad copy. Introducing our new education series with online self-paced courses for everyone. Are you an aspiring or existing security leader? Or are you a music creator or producer worried about protecting your valuable creations online? Cybersecurity Growth Training is your go-to online destination for easy to understand practical cybersecurity education. Our unique courses, the first 100 days of a CISO, and cybersecurity for musicians, producers, and studios are tailored specifically for immediate results. Join our courses today. Visit cybersecuritygrowth.com and click training.
That's a good read, Garrett. Thank you.
I know.
That's really good.
I love doing that so
Thank you so
much.
much. Now we'll convert that one into a repeatable ad and throw it all over TikTok. That's what I do.
I mean, it makes me like, so very few people know I went to school for radio, TV, and film. So like getting to do that lets me like play like I actually followed through with my collegiate endeavors.
I love it. I love it so much. All right, time to get into our hot topic this week.
Let's do it.
We are calling our hot topic this week Resume Workshop number 2. This is our second time conducting a resume workshop. It's been too long, and I'm really happy that we are here. So here's how it works. You send us your resume, and then we anonymize your resume, so we're not doxing you on the air. We're not giving away who you are, where
Correct.
you live, and we're also not giving away where you worked. We take your resume and we anonymize your personal information, your company information, but we leave the whole rest of your resume as is, and we don't look at it ahead of time. We look at it right now, live on air. This is us as 2 hiring managers at different levels and different roles of hiring, but we are 2 hiring managers looking at your resume, and we're talking about what we like and dislike about your resume. And, would we give you a call if we saw your resume? So we're going to share the resume on screen for those who are watching the video. For the audio, we'll talk through it. Our
And so for the viewers, I've never seen this. So this will be my live reaction to this resume.
Yes, and good point. Garrett has never seen this. I have seen it just to clean it, to make sure that we aren't sharing too much personal information. So You at home on the video, you're able to see pieces of it. I'll scroll through it as we talk about it. I'm going to throw a lot of it to Garrett for initial takes. I'll give it my take as well. Our person today that we are reviewing, their name is Teffin Styler. Thank you. We are reviewing the resume of one Teffin Styler. We don't really need to care about where they live. This is not a real address, but we have their resume at the top here. Our thoughts are, as hiring managers, what do we know about this person? I'll do a quick scroll for those of you who are looking at on the screen because you can't see the full resume, just so you can get a quick view of the resume while we introduce it. Garrett, I'm going to cue something up for you just so you know a little bit about who this candidate is.
Okay.
So this is a candidate who has a background in software engineering. They've been a web developer, software developer for much of their career, maybe 20 years or so. And they're moving more into the application security space, product security space.
Yep.
And they are looking for roles in AppSec, ProdSec, something along those lines with a background in software development. So just, something for us to keep in mind. So Garrett, I'm going to pass it to you. Where do you want to talk about first? What jumps out to you here to talk about?
So I'm going to go all the way down to relevant experience, and I'll stop there. I like the brief summary. This is something that I've harped on in the past. Do not give us a soliloquy of everything about you. Like, give me a short blurb. Security focused software engineer. Okay, so that right off the bat is great. Folks that work in security, we deal with engineering all the time. Some of us have a love-hate relationship with engineering. I prefer to have a love-love relationship with engineering, but knowing that someone is security focused in their engineering role, and even better to prove that, to like show some security initiatives that you've been a part of, whether that's pen testing, mitigation, or whatever. That's great. So with extensive experience developing secure web apps, okay, I definitely want to see proof of those.
If you're going to call this, I want to make sure I'm bringing the right part of the screen here. Which part is this that we're looking at?
This is the summary. This is right.
Okay, right at the summary. Thanks. Good. I just wanted to put that on the screen. Thanks. Go on.
Yep. So extensive experience developing secure web applications. So again, like I've said in the last time, if you're going to call out that you've done something cool, please show me so I can check it out. Implementing the OWASP framework. That's great that you know about the OWASP framework. Secure SDLC, great, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so code reviews, application security best practices, skilled in collaborating with cross-functional teams to integrate security into application designs and workflows. So that is a page right out of my book. Get everyone else outside of security involved in the security process. So I like that this person has said, I'm skilled. I put some focus in my past on stoking up collaboration. That's actually huge. And that makes you very attractive if I'm hiring you for a product security team.
I'm gonna second what you just said, Garrett. Kind of on all those things. You're talking about the OWASP framework. Okay, music to my ears. Securing web applications. I love that.
Absolutely.
The secure development lifecycle (SDLC). I'm gonna pause here for 1 second. Did that give you any question? I am so common by seeing SDLC stand for software development lifecycle, and oftentimes say the secure SDLC, but not the secure DLC. I don't know. Does that? I'm weird because like things jump out at me, and I just want to question it. Did that give you any pause at all?
No, I mean, I see SDLC and I see software development lifecycle. If you say secure development lifecycle, okay, I know what you're talking
Okay.
about, but that is some kind of, maybe that's an evolution of the parlance. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but
I know that these all of our acronyms they morph too. So I think this is good. You're talking about code reviews, AppSec best practices, and I do like that thing you pointed out in that last sentence there, collaborating with cross teams. Because when people ask me questions around AppSec and product security, it's one of the things I talk about. If your AppSec people are working in a vacuum, or your product security people are working in a vacuum, and they're not partnering with the software engineering teams, it's not going to win.
right.
You need your product security and AppSec people to work with your software developers, and vice versa. And likely you're going to build processes together. You're going to pick tools together. So I love that.
Well, Sean and I have been part of an organization where it was kind of flipped on its head, where the AppSec team was part of the engineering team and wasn't as closely aligned with the security team. So that kind of works both ways. You kind of need to have that, influx or we'll say ingress and egress of information sharing. Certifications. Okay, I kind of read ahead a little bit. I've got some opinions on this. Security Plus. If you are a SOC analyst or a pen tester or, any other pure play security role, and you have Security Plus listed on your resume, I don't care about that at all. And I'm not saying that that's not a good step to get to where you need to be, but Security Plus, I don't care about that at all. However, coming from a software engineer, the fact that they have a Security Plus certification, that's actually a boon. That's really, really good because, again, like Sean said, this is someone who their last job was a software engineer. To see that they have branched out and they've gotten something like a Security Plus, which quite often is overlooked. People go straight to a CISSP, which former CISSP owner or whatever whatever I am.
Mine is right over here. I know you can't see it because of the blurred camera, but it's right there on my wall. It's right there on my wall.
I do not have mine. I think mine's in my closet somewhere. But back to what I'm saying, that's actually huge. That a software engineer. So if you're branching out of your current role and you're looking to get into security like this person has, boasting that you are in entry level certifications, that's actually huge. And then I'll end on this and get your thoughts. Practical web penetration tester. I don't know. Is that the JISEC?
I'm not sure. I actually don't know where that one
is?
comes from. I know, like you and I did a whole show a while back on different certification.
Right.
I don't know where this one comes from, but interesting enough. Yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing which certification board this comes from. So yeah, is it an ISACA thing? Is it an IC squared or one of the other? Yeah, I actually
because that's
GIAC or something like that. Yeah, I would probably make an update here to say which certification board this one comes from, because that's a good point.
And my God, don't ever lie about certifications.
Yeah, and by the way, because if you did this and you took it on LinkedIn Learning, that's okay. I guess say it. But if you did take it from one of like the well-known security organizations, throw their acronym on here.
Yeah. Okay. Skills. I'm not sure how I feel about all this stuff. Like, I get it, but listing out all the stuff that like you're aware of, that doesn't really do much for me. Take these skills that you've listed here and tell me what you've done with them. Like, that's what I want to see. Like, I'll give you, Burp Suite. I've used Burp Suite for web app pen testing, or, we've been running SAST and DAST in our environment, and I'm part of it, and I'm helping with the mitigation. Like, I want to know how you're using these things, because quite honestly, if you just have a bunch of stuff under your skills, I don't really care. Like SIM, Splunk, and Datadog. Okay, so you're a software engineer. how much experience do you have with Splunk? You might have a lot. You might have just heard the word or logged into the console with your security buddies once, but I want to hear what you've done with that technology.
Yeah, it's a good point. So the skills section here for those on audio has about 8 or 9 bullets, and each one has like a section: application security, and then a bunch of things, security tools, and a bunch of things, SDLC and practices, and a bunch of things, programming, and then a bunch of languages, frameworks, and a bunch of like JavaScript and similar languages, right? So it has those things, and the named acronyms or the named languages or the named like capabilities next to it. Garrett, I think there's a couple things to this. Like there's one, you need to pass the applicant tracking system automated tool, right? That you're going to submit your resume to, and that talent acquisition person who's going to scrub or do a first review of this resume before they decide, are you good enough to get to the hiring manager? Yep. And having some buzzwords there are important. Having some industry terms there are important to get through the ATS, the applicant tracking system, and the talent acquisition person. But as me, the hiring manager, I'm with you, Garrett. I want to know more about outcomes versus all the buzzwords. And I get a little bit worried when I see a resume that dumps out 30 different technology names because I'm like, well, which ones are you expert in? And if you're expert in them, why? Right. Which ones are you intermediate or beginner in, and why? And Garrett, I think that kind of aligns with what you said about Splunk. You want to know, like, how deep are you into Splunk Foo, right? How deep are you into the query language of Splunk? Right. What did you use Splunk for? For all of us who are old school Splunk users, it wasn't a security tool. It was like a log management tool for IT teams and operations teams, and it grew into a very rich SIM. So if you're saying Splunk, I guess to your point, Garrett, knowing a little bit more of the technology and the outcomes of these things.
That's right.
And you possibly you'd have to downsize the skills a little bit by doing this, because I don't want your resume to be 4 pages long, but maybe picking a couple of the skills and maybe saying a little bit more about what you have accomplished with those skills.
Yeah. So a couple of final thoughts on skills for me. I actually know where this comes from. This is a developer thing. And again, not being a developer.
I was a developer and my resume did this. I was like, let me name the 800 things that I have worked on, and like, look at all the different Java frameworks I've worked on, and J2EE, and I just go down the list of all these things that are now defunct Java because I was a coder 8,000 years ago. But I would do that same thing, Garrett, which is like, for whatever reason, us developers, we love to lay out all the tools and frameworks and languages we work with.
But just understand that it's not the same in security. Now, again, like, even if you put myself in a parallel universe where I'm hiring a developer role, I still want to hear, just like you said, what are you an expert in? What have you done with JavaScript? What are some cool Python projects that you've done? Because here's the deal. This whole resume, what we're looking for is, what problems can you solve for my organization? What can you do? What can you actually bring to the table? And you just listing out that, and I'm not trying to go hard on this guy, but like, even though he was a member of one of the greatest rock bands known to man.
No. This is Teffin Styler.
Oh, Teffin Styler.
You read the name. I think you mixed the letters up. No, this
not
is
Steven Tyler.
No. This is Teffin Styler.
but yeah, just kind of double down on that, or rather land the plane. I want to know what you've done with this kind of stuff. I don't want to look at all this. None of this makes any sense to a security hiring person. I want to see what you've done. And then better yet, link them to projects, because a lot of us, like Sean and I, we also code. So like, I can look at your Python projects and understand what you've done. Link me to your GitHub. Let me see what you've done. That would be way more important than listing all this stuff out on a resume.
Yeah, those are good. Garrett, I think that's, you said I don't want to go too hard on this person, but this is what we're here to do, because this is actually super helpful. Yeah. I'm actually glad you're saying this. As I'm looking at this, security tools are mentioned. Burp Suite's mentioned, Wireshark, Nmap, but then the acronym SAST and the acronym DAST is managed. And to two old school AppSec nerds, this is Garrett and I here, we're like, well, SAST is just an acronym. What did you use? Did you do were you an old school Fortify user? Did you do some Veracode? Did you go Sneak? What with the new GitHub stuff? The Microsoft.
Yeah.
tell me more. DAST, like there's a whole slew of DAST tools. And again, I'm not necessarily wanting to know your tools. I want to know your solutions. But I look at this resume and I'm like, well, SAST and DAST actually leaves me more concerned than excited, because
it looks like you just slapped stuff on your resume.
Those aren't tools. Those are just acronyms for an entire category of 100 different products.
And I'll do you the service of giving you an example of what I would want to see within that context. Like, I helped implement the SAST tool Veracode in our, secure software development lifecycle, and it helped us, reduce our vulnerability count from, I don't know, 3 to 1 or whatever that looks like in every release.
Great
like
point.
That's important.
That's a good point. Again, you're telling the story of the outcome.
That's right.
And by the way, there's a Splunk story that could be told. And again, now that we're just making up fictional stories, but hey, we're here to help. Splunk is just mentioned on here. And we want to know, Garrett talked about it, so I'll come back to it. Maybe you never use Splunk in production. Maybe you actually set up a free home version of Splunk. You set it up on a laptop on home and you ran it to monitor the logs that come in from your cable modem router. Like, you decided, like, I'm going to filter all the logs that come into my house through a Splunk server, and I'm going to monitor and maybe create some alerts. That's a story. Like, utilize Splunk for home network to reduce internal attacks. Yep. And detected X number of attacks across 1 year or something like that. Like, okay, if I were to hear that story, I'm like, I want to talk to this person, actually. Like, you and by the way, you maybe did some of this at work where you're like, I used Splunk and I analyzed security events that came in and responded to security events. So I want to know a little bit more about the story versus just the tech name.
Well, and one final thing on the skills: remove anything that's old. Like, if you've got old stuff on there, that's going to make you look like you just slapped some stuff on your resume.
So I should take Lotus Notes 4, R4, which came out in 1997.
Everyone still thinks that's cool.
I was a Lotus Notes and Domino administrator and developer. I am a Lotus Notes 4
there you go.
Developer
you still
and
are.
administrator.
So going through the rest of it, the rest of it's pretty straightforward. They do have kind of the story of what they did on each job, which again, I appreciate. But if you have this smattering of stuff under skills, that's going to distract me. And I'm going to, if I've got, 50 resumes to go through, I'm going to look at this and go, man, whatever.
You got hung up on skills, and thank you, Garrett, for getting hung up on skills. This is why we're here.
Yes.
And that's putting this resume at risk.
Yep.
That's putting the resume at risk.
I'll just kind of give my assessment. The rest of it, the experience looks good. There's a lot of stuff on here. I would probably streamline this to maybe just a couple bullet points if you're going to have this skills section. You also have the choice of just omitting the skills section and then leaving this explanation of what you've done within, like, embedded within the relevant experience section. Awesome. Other than that, projects and achievements, so developed a personal SOC. That's actually pretty cool. So that's the kind of stuff that I would want to see up top.
Oh yeah, I'd actually like these. Oh yeah, it's funny. I'm scrolling, so people who were looking at this on the video didn't even get to see this part yet.
Yeah.
The projects and achievements. Hold on, I gotta move my window around so I can get to that projects and achievements here. It's funny. We talked about this. I just described this using Splunk. It says projects and achievements, developed a personal SOC, Security Operations Center, lab for continuous learning. That's a thing. It's a thing you did. I like this.
But even that, what did you use? Because those of us who
you utilized Splunk and developed a SOC lab for continuous learning. That'd actually be very cool. And then you could take Splunk off of a skill and just put it right in here. You're telling a story, and you're telling a little bit of. It doesn't tell you a total outcome, but the idea of continuous learning. That's like you are growing yourself.
And be prepared, by the way, if you get an interview, I'm going to dig into this SOC of yours. Like, I am a SOC nerd. I want to know exactly what you've created, what your processes are, what technologies you're using, what things you've done with the SOC. So be prepared to talk about that kind of stuff. But yeah, I like the projects and achievements. I like the fact that they have professional affiliations. That's actually something that I serve on a board today, actually a couple boards, but I serve on a security board today that I see that as giving back to the community. That tells me that your skills are still sharp, you're interested in mentorship. So having the professional affiliations, I think that's great. But again, I would probably just move a lot of this catchy stuff up towards the top. Um, yeah, everything else looks pretty straightforward. Education. So you've got a Bachelor of Science in MIS. Again, I would want to know maybe what you did in college. Like, that's great that you have a Bachelor of Science, but like, what were some of the things that you were involved in? Did you help create a learning lab? Did you, what was your, you don't really have a thesis or anything with a bachelor's, but I want to know kind of what was your raison d'etre for being in school? Like, what did you do? Why were you there? Just because you have a Bachelor of Science, that's great, but I want to hear more about it.
My comment on education is, okay, you put your education, you graduated college, you have a bachelor's degree, good. That checks, like, again,
Good.
it checks the talent
Good.
acquisition box. It doesn't necessarily check the hiring manager box, but you have it. If I were to scroll back on your resume, you've been working since the 1990s, the mid to late 1990s. Okay, your education likely took place in the 1990s, so I don't care too much about
That's a great
So
point.
Garrett, I'm kind of like throwing in an objection to your comment. Like, I don't care so much what you did in college. You went to college and then you started working. So you've been out of college for a while now.
That's a
So
good point.
I don't need the college details, but two different hiring managers looking for things of interest. Back to projects and achievements for a second.
Yep.
You mentioned two things under OWASP, and one is an acronym MASVS, and another one is an acronym ASVS. And sadly, for me, who's worked in application security and a few other roles, I actually don't know what those acronyms mean. So I actually maybe would encourage you to spell these out. Garrett, I don't know if they jump out to you meaning something, but they actually don't mean anything to me.
Yeah, I mean, I do know what they are, but this is not a widely known thing. I mean, it's the application security verification
Thank
standard,
you.
but again, like that's not a widely known, that's not like, naming off the OWASP top 10
No, you
or
could very easily been like, Sean, seriously, you worked in AppSec and didn't know what these were? Because I don't. I'd not seen those
no,
acronyms
no,
before.
this is a bit, I mean, again, like maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I would spell this out. And again, to my point earlier, if you're listing this out on here, you know, it enhanced application security. Well, no shit. Like, what did you actually do
That's a good point. Enhancing,
with that?
I would like to know, reduced vulnerabilities,
Yes.
X
Yes.
percent, like, reduced vulnerabilities by 20%, or reduced false positive findings, or reduced, true positive findings by some number, like just some
Or
result.
or even like we didn't have anything in play. I lobbied and I got buy-in to get this thing pushed through. Like that is a valuable thing to list on your resume.
Got buy-in by the development team to implement
Yes.
these assessment processes.
Because that bolsters the notion that was referenced above that they're into cross collaboration and diplomacy throughout the organization. That would be a huge, huge green flag for me of like, wow, I definitely want to talk to this person.
Okay. Okay, we went top to bottom. I have one additional comment. I've been chiming in where I thought it made sense, so I'm not going to do a full review. You kept your resume to 2 pages. It did not go to a 3rd page. In our world, do that. Do more of that. Keep it to. If we can figure out how to keep it to 1 page, I can't. I have not been able to figure out how to get mine to 1 page successfully. You've kept yours to 2. I'm happy that you did that. We aren't going to look at a 3rd page. We aren't going to look at a 3rd page. So keeping it at 2, I'm happy that you've done that.
I want to call out something real quick.
Are you going to talk about my resume and how it's 17 pages long?
No, but that's definitely a topic for another time. I just appreciate the fact that when Sean scrubbed this resume, he also put in The LinkedIn link is actually pointing to Tefan Styler. Like you actually
I did.
changed the LinkedIn.
I modified the LinkedIn. Now you can see it on screen to a Tefan, which is not a person that I know
Oh
of.
my
Actually,
God,
I
that's
did
so
not verify
good.
if it's not a person or not. But
That's
yeah,
so good.
I told you. It just proves we are going to make sure we're going to do our best to anonymize you. All the company names. I actually had my friend ChatGPT take the company names and create alternatives for those company names.
Yep.
So yeah, it's good
You've got Jenny's phone number listed under Tefan's phone number. Nice. You've got the leadest of the zip codes referenced here. Wow, Sean, rarely do I give you compliments, but I'm really impressed with your work here.
Thank you. Thank you. This is instead of watching the latest episode of The Rookie on the couch last night.
Boom.
I mean, that was playing, but this is what I was actually doing.
That's great.
Right,
So my final thoughts on this real quick. Great job. This is a great resume. There's some very pointed feedback that we gave that you could use to improve this resume. If you take that feedback and operationalize it, this is a 5-star resume for me.
There we go. So for someone who's coming from software engineering, getting into the software security space, this is a great review. Garrett, thanks for your feedback on it. Thanks for the person, Tefan, who sent us your resume, and other folks, feel free to send us your resume. We will do a very similar review. We try to hold no bars. No bars hold. No bars hold. No. Now I literally forget how to say that phrase because I said it wrong.
Me think
no
of
bars hold. Anyways, we will do everything we can to shred your resume on the air with love.
We will not hold back.
We will not. Okay, we've got. Hold on, let me get back to our agenda here. Last piece. We'll be right back.
Hey, viewers and listeners, you asked, we delivered. Introducing the official Cybersecurity Growth merch store, packed with awesome gear inspired by you. From our sleek CSG logo polos to our fan favorite CISO career is soon over tie-dye tees, there's something for everyone. Grab yours today and show your cybersecurity pride with a touch of humor. Visit cybersecuritygrowth.com and click on store, because cybersecurity can be cool and even a little funny.
All right. We just ran our first advertisement for the merch store, and I happen to have, Garrett, if you see right in front of me here, something that just came in the mail. And it actually has the Cybersecurity Growth logo on this bag. I have not opened this bag yet, so we are going to do a merch reveal before we close out the show today.
It feels so real. Yeah, I feel so professional.
Yeah, like there's the logo right there. There's my mailing address redacted. Look at me go. I redacted my mailing address, so I'm not sharing it to the world.
$10 and I'll give you Sean's mailing address.
Yeah,
just DM me.
Again, it helps fund the show.
That's right.
We have something that's coming out here.
Look at that.
Oh, look at this. Oh, I can't show this on camera, but the receipt does actually have the company logo on it. Which
Love it.
Can I? There's a piece of it there, just a little bit on the screen there. It actually has the company logo on it, and oh wow, look at this! They even sent me a nice thank you message. Thank you for supporting cybersecurity. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we have a nice little lovely message for anyone who purchases our merch that you will get in the bag, and I'll save it for when you get your own merch. First reveal. I haven't seen this yet.
Oh yeah, look at that. That is a beautiful blue.
Oh, wow. This is the official Cybersecurity Growth embroidered polo.
Wow.
In I guess a royal blue, I think it is.
Yeah. And that's one of the Adidas shirts, right?
It's the same Adidas shirt. We showed one a couple weeks back.
That's nice.
And
so point being, we're not putting garbage out there. Like we're selling good stuff.
Immediately, this is my favorite. Like this embroidery looks so good. It's not a patch. It's not ink. It's actual embroidery on here.
I love that.
You will be seeing these at cybersecurity conferences in the near future. I mean, I will be wearing it, but maybe someone else might as well.
I will also be buying one as soon as I can get our discount code to where I can buy it at cost.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. All right.
That's awesome.
Next show, future shows. I don't want to commit to what our next show is, but things we talked about before. We want to do a show on building a vulnerability management program. That'll be fun. We want to do a show on business continuity and disaster recovery prep, and a show on insider risk management. So we just have these things written down for future shows. We have a couple others we're thinking about as well.
Awesome.
If you enjoyed this resume workshop and if you want to participate in a future resume workshop, just send us your resume. Resumes can be sent to our support email address, support@cybersecuritygrowth.com. And again, we will schedule an episode where we'll do a resume workshop with your anonymized resume.
Yep.
Garrett, shall we wrap this thing up?
Let's wrap this thing up. It's a great show.
Right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening. We had some folks join us from LinkedIn Live, some folks from Twitch, and then obviously we've got the show in many other places after the fact when we produce it. If your company would like to become a sponsor of the Cybersecurity Growth Show, reach out to us at sales@cybersecuritygrowth.com. I am Sean Valley, the creator of this show and the music here on Cybersecurity Growth. You can visit us at cybersecuritygrowth.com and get all of our shows at cybersecuritygrowth.com/webcasts. You can find us at every social location under @cybersecuritygrowth. We are most active on LinkedIn and, believe it or not, TikTok. We're
blowing up on TikTok.
We are blowing up on TikTok. We had 150 TikTok followers a month and a half ago. We're now at like 500.5 followers. and our posts are getting lovely comments as well as hate comments. So that's how you know you've arrived.
That's how you know. That's how you know you're having an impact, is when you're pissing people off.
Yeah, we posted a video, and Garrett, you commented, somebody said word salad, literally making fun of the words coming out of our mouth. And
great.
Keep them coming.
Great. Keep it coming.
If you like the show, please tell your friends. If you hate it, please tell all your adversaries over on TikTok.
And ask them to leave a comment, please.
Yes, ask them to leave a comment as well. Like and subscribe. Leave 5 stars. Leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Something like "Great show. I learned something new about how to update my resume." Garrett, you don't do much of the social media, so where can people catch you?
You can probably find me in your boardroom, desperately trying to convince your board members to fund your cybersecurity projects.
That's
putting dollars to breaches and saying this could be you next.
And this is why most boardrooms do a badge and pin to get into the boardroom.
I'm actually not allowed in the board meeting
because he's got.
That's right.
He actually figures out how he's got to overcome the badge and pin to get into the boardroom. He's outside scaling the outside of the building to come in through the window.
I liken myself kind of like Charlie from It's Always Sunny. Just kind of erratic, like, all right, we got to come in here and look at the results of the data.
Charlie, so good. All right. We are live every other week sometimes. Fridays usually 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, and 3:30 p.m. GMT. And we're in YouTube and your pod feeds and TikTok a few days later. Garrett, fun show as always.
Yes.
I learned some things. We talked about some things. Thanks for joining me today.
Awesome. Thanks so much. It was a great show.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.